10 minutes after the hour, so we're running a little bit late, but I see people are still trickling in. Hopefully they'll come in. We've got Mark Bramfett from PGE. He's a principal program manager in PGE's Customer Energy Efficiency Group, and he's responsible for designing and delivering programs and services to help customers manage their energy use in the high-tech sector. And he's going to give us a talk on energy efficiency leadership. So, over to you.
Very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Bramfett from Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Thank you very much for having me here. I was worried it looked like a Kucinich crowd earlier. Maybe we'll get up to Obama strength here momentarily as more people come in. I'll do my best to project some enthusiasm your way for 20, 25 minutes. Apologize for the state of the room. I'll do my best to engage you and get you excited about what we're excited about at Pacific Gas and Electric Company. And let me start by space. There we go. Let me share with you a little bit about PG&E if you're not from Northern California. We are one of the largest utilities in the United States, serving about 5 million electric customers, a little over 4 million natural gas customers here in Northern California. We have a very, very active energy efficiency program where we are helping pay our customers to do energy efficiency projects. And I know for those of you that maybe come from outside of California, that doesn't sound like a very smart business model, convincing people by giving them money to use less of their product. So one of the things I want to talk to you a little bit about as part of my presentation is why does PG&E do these programs and how successful have they been over the past 30 years. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's driving our emphasis on energy efficiency in the data center, IT, high-tech space. I'm going to certainly tell you about the programs and services we've developed that are helping our customers manage the energy costs and the environmental footprint of their IT operations. I'm going to challenge you towards the end with some strategies that you might consider for your own organization, whether it's a company or a nonprofit. But again, before we get into those things, let me talk to you about why we do energy efficiency in California and at the utility that I work for. First of all, PG&E has been offering energy efficiency programs now to our customers for 30 years. Everything from incentives for high efficiency refrigerators at homes to pumps at dairies. Our customers have grown to expect these programs. So even if PG&E wanted not to do the programs, I think there would be a hue and cry from our customer base. All of our customers benefit through lower rates. And let me just give you a quick economic point of view around energy efficiency. PG&E buys a certain proportion of the power that we deliver to our customers. We go out on an open market and buy that power. Nominally speaking, it costs us about 6 cents a kilowatt hour to do that. If I can work with any one of you as customers to save a kilowatt hour for, say, 3 cents through incentives, through education, through the services that we provide, clearly there's a margin there, a cost savings margin that somebody ought to be able to participate in. So our customers get, the customers who participate in the programs, of course, get the incentives and they get some direct benefit. But by not having to go out and buy power at 6 cents or even $1 a kilowatt hour in peak periods, I'm actually saving all of my customers through lower rates. I will point out that in California, different than anywhere else in the United States, the utilities do earn a financial return on running our energy efficiency programs cost effectively. If I do my job as part of the team at PG&E that delivers these programs, our Public Utilities Commission will actually reward us with profit. So we've got a unique utility, legislative, regulatory, and customer compact here in California that really, really drives energy efficiency. And I will point out that energy efficiency of all the things that PG&E does, which includes incentives for photovoltaics and self-generation and demand response and clean air transportation and driving our renewables as part of our power portfolio up to 20%, all this wide array of things, the energy efficiency program is really the cornerstone of our environmental commitment to the communities that we serve here in Northern California. Let me give you just a sense of the size of that commitment. We're in the third year now of a 3-year program for energy efficiency. PG&E is spending $975 million on energy efficiency services and programs over that 3-year cycle, the biggest energy efficiency program of any utility in the world. So it's a big, big deal for us. And let me tell you what that has achieved for us. This is an interesting chart we put together of per capita electric use. It compares 3 regions. One is the nice green line in the middle, which is California. And what we've charted is since 1960 to today, the per capita energy use. And of course, everyone knows through the 60s and into the 70s, growth was on quite an upswing. The utilities started energy efficiency programs right about here. And California has had dead flat per capita electric energy use since that time. The red line is the other 49 states in the United States, gone up about 50% over that 30-year period. Not a great story. Just recently added the blue line, which is Western Europe. I think we sometimes get unfairly criticized from our European colleagues about profligacy in the United States. It seems to me that they're on a line that they shouldn't be on. Their growth has been pretty constant over the last 20 years or so, perhaps buying bigger refrigerators than they used to. Why are we focused on high tech? PG&E serves this facility. We serve Silicon Valley. Our customers here are facing 2 sets of challenges, in my opinion. One is they want to save money. They want to do the right thing for the environment in their own facilities. They're facing in their facilities, especially their data centers, the challenges that a lot of you may be facing in your operations: lack of power, space, and cooling, lack of capacity planning, a lot of issues around that. And then every high-tech company at least has a presence in Silicon Valley, so I am able to meet with and talk with all of the major players in the IT industry and talk to them about how their products, their services, how they fit into a solution with regard to energy efficiency in data centers. So it's very natural for PG&E serving this area, I think, to have developed, I think, the utility leading program in this space. Let me talk to you about my direct market, and this is a real puzzling slide for us. I don't know what the load of data centers is in my service area. And I have asked a lot of very, very smart people, and they don't know either. I've had some very, very major companies with 3-letter initials sit across from me and say, could we see your customer list for data centers? Because they don't know where they are either. So I have estimated what I think the load of data centers are in my service area. Now, there's a brilliant paper from Jonathan Koomey at Stanford, and based on the volume of servers that have been sold over the years, he has estimated that 1.2% of the energy use in the United States is going towards data centers. I think I have about double that, because if you look at any list of where data centers are in the country, the Bay Area comes up pretty high on the list. It's usually in the top 5, if not the top 2 or 3. So I've gone ahead and estimated 2.5%. I also, I know where some of the big data centers are. I call them enterprise. They're the colos of the world, the financial institutions, some of the major players down here in Silicon Valley. I know where the multi-megawatt data centers are. They're pretty clear to us as a utility. But I sit in an office in downtown San Francisco, and I look at office buildings all around me, and I know that there's data center space in those office buildings, but to PG&E, they look like office buildings. I have no idea about corporate data centers. They're hidden in campuses. They're hidden all over the place. So we have no way of figuring out exactly how much load that represents. And lastly, we coined a term, this is not a San Francisco term, closet servers, okay? This is where you go to the law office and you walk down the hall and there's a room and it says telecom on the outside, and you open that closet up and the heat just wafts out of there because they've stuffed it with IT equipment. And we found a law office where every attorney had their own server, and they had 200 servers jammed in a closet. So that kind of load, I have no idea how to get a hold on. So what is the challenge for everyone in all 3 of these categories, quite frankly, because I have dealt with companies as small as 1-800-RADIATOR that sells car radiators over the internet, and they've had challenges with their little 30-server data center. And then I've worked with the big boys like Hewlett-Packard building a brand new 50,000 square foot data center. Or by the way, I've got about 75 megawatts of new data center space coming on in the Bay Area in the next 12 to 18 months. Massive co-location facilities being built as we speak. So despite the fact that I have pretty high electric rates here, the growth is phenomenal. And why is the growth phenomenal for everybody? You know this better than I do. IT workloads are going through the roof. Regular, everyday businesses, not high-tech companies, not financial institutions, report growth rates of 10, 15, or 20% on IT workload. And then you talk to the banks, and you talk to the eBays and the Googles and those kinds of folks that are internet-based. I'm seeing 40, 50, 60% IT workloads. And then the real story that I think is starting to come to light is this whole issue around data storage. Most companies are reporting, 30, 40, or 50% annual growth, and it's not uncommon as I talk to customers that their data storage rates are going up at 100% annual rates. And I'll give you my own story of that. PG&E, I mentioned, has 5 million electric customers, over 4 million gas customers. Nominally speaking, I read those meters once a month. That's a data set that I have to go in and process and turn into bills. We're in the midst of an effort to put automated metering systems in place on all of those accounts. We're going to read every natural gas meter twice a day, every electric meter at least every hour, if not every 15 minutes. So you can think about the size and the number of data storage boxes that are getting delivered to our data center at PG&E. We're part of the same equation everybody else is. I don't know if we cut this slide, but when your back is up against the wall, this is my, and I'm not going to poke fun at Sun, they're great partners, as is Rackable Systems. When your back is up against the wall and you've got no more power, space, or cooling in your existing facility, this is something you might consider. The one on top I'm most familiar with from Sun, it's a 20-foot shipping container. Loaded with gear. They are selling these to some of my customers. They are putting these things in. My problem with these is they're marketed as instant data centers that you just plug in. And I got to tell you, the load on this data, on that cube is 250 kW. The extension cord for that does not go into that wall socket, okay? So to my way of thinking, if you get yourself so far gone on capacity planning in your IT and data center operations that you're considering these, maybe you haven't been as thoughtful as you should be about your growth rates. This is sort of a twofer slide. It's my Where's Waldo slide. This is how they're being marketed by Sun in particular. As I pointed out, there are probably data centers in most or many of those office buildings, but the real thing is, where is the data center? There's 4 of those boxes up on the roof. Now that's just photoshopped. The ones that I'm seeing going in at the Stanford Linear Accelerator and at other locations are being put in parking lots with chain link fences and boxes around them. These are going in, folks, so something to think about. Why did they paint it black? Yeah, you'd at least want to put a mirrored roof on the top of it. Okay, I'm going to run through pretty quickly in a historical fashion where I have taken the programs that PG&E offers for IT since I took the program on in 2006. They assigned me 3 market sectors to design and deliver the industry-leading programs for. They gave me high-tech, biotech, and healthcare, which nominally means that I'm supposed to be responsible for data centers, IT, clean rooms, laboratories, and hospitals. This market went berserk on me. I do data centers and nothing but data centers, and have been hiring people and growing this business for PG&E over the last 2 years. It's really phenomenal growth for us. When I started, when I took the program on, we had services and incentives for our customers in these first 3 bullet areas. We would help you put variable frequency drives on your chillers, pumps, and fans. If you were building a new data center, we would give you money to buy premium efficiency chillers, pumps, fans, and CRAC units. And then we, very difficult, but we have tried to convince customers to use what we call free cooling strategies. This is air and water side economizers. Let me tell you just in layman's terms what that means. If you're in downtown San Francisco and it's 50 degrees outside, maybe a little foggy, but 50 degrees outside, not uncommon in downtown San Francisco, why are you running an air conditioning system to cool your data center? Why don't you open the window like anybody else would, right? Now, I'm making it sound a lot easier than it is. There's humidity control. There are things you have to do. It's difficult to put into an existing data center. It's much easier to put into a new one. But the savings from using air and water side economizers are immense. Most people in the Bay Area are running their air conditioning systems 8,760 hours a year, every hour of every day, of every week, of every month in the year. They are running their air conditioning. Okay, in downtown San Jose, right here, using those two strategies, 6,000 hours where all you're running is pumps and fans. No chillers, no compressors, huge savings. Hewlett-Packard came to us. They were going to build a 50,000 square foot data center in Palo Alto. We looked over their design. We said, hey, you got to try this air side, water side economizers. They said yes. Cost them $800,000 more to build it the way we spec'd it. A lot of money, big investment on their part. I gave them a check for $400,000, so I paid for half of it, and they are saving $1 million a year in power costs. Huge, huge technology, and yet I can count on about this many fingers the number of data centers that are doing this in the Bay Area. So we've got a lot of hurdles. This isn't for every data center everywhere in the world. It's for most data centers in most places of the world. You can get a lot of free cooling hours using those strategies. What we were missing, however, when I took the program on in 2006, this is all air conditioning outside. Nothing was going on. We had nothing for you inside the data center. And you have seen pie charts like this all the time. We hired Lawrence Berkeley National Lab to go into 22 data centers and come up with charts like this. Where is the energy use going? This is a best-in-class data center where just over half of the power is actually getting to the servers, the data storage equipment, the stuff that's on the raised floor. This is best in class. In most cases, reverse the yellow and the blue. Now, from a program standpoint, I was helping customers with the yellow, and I had nothing with the blue. And yet you know that if I save a kilowatt hour, a watt, in the data center, I'm going to get some savings in the yellow area as well, because the heat that you generate here, I've got to do something with on the air conditioning side to get it out of your data center. So I realized, boy, we're missing the boat. We're not looking at the right things. And here's what we came up with in 2006. The first thing I did was very, very risky. I announced a program that said if you're willing to take out a rack of old servers and replace them with quote-unquote premium efficiency servers, I can help pay for that. We made a lot of noise with that announcement. Our partner on that was Sun. I have worked with many other people in the industry. Not getting a lot of applications for this kind of program. Dangerous program for me, because what is a premium efficiency server? You buy a server today from any manufacturer, you will get the equivalent of a 0 to 60 time and a top speed, but there's no miles per gallon city highway on the sticker on the outside of the box. Now, I'm standing here as a utility saying, I will help pay for the equivalent of hybrids instead of SUVs, but there's no sticker for me to point to. So I'm waiting for the industry to get their act together and come up with a rating system, and SPEC and Green Grid are trying to do that. As soon as they do, I will expand that program. But I'll tell you, making that announcement got me a lot of phone calls and entrees into a lot of businesses that I didn't have before. So it generated a lot of excitement. Very risky for me as a utility person, but it was a good thing. We also announced incentives for virtualization, and really it's not for virtualization, it's for consolidation. We're paying you to take underutilized equipment out of your data center. And this one has been big for us. We've got about 50 applications in, some complaints about how the program operates, and I'll tell you how we're going to improve it in just a moment. But a big program, very positive for us. Airflow control systems, these are from the big guys like IBM and from HP. HP's product's called Dynamic Smart Cooling. Goes into fairly large data centers, 50,000 square foot data centers, controls the crack units and makes sure that not half of the air that's blowing around in your data center is not getting to any equipment. It gets that number way down. So we're doing incentives for that. High efficiency UPS made some big plays with that, especially with AT&T and their data center in the East Bay. I'm standing ready to give incentives for direct current power distribution or high voltage AC power distribution that gets us out of this cycle of you taking 480 volts AC from me, and finally at some point, you know, after 6 stages of transformation through UPSs and everything else, you're getting some power to your equipment. If we can get some of those stages out, there's efficiency to be gained there. I have high quality technical services. If you want to look at air conditioning, especially the free cooling option, we can pencil that out for you. You give us a call and we will get somebody out there. I have those people on contract. And I am now dabbling way out into the workstation market, and I'm going to push a little bit hard on that for you on these last 2. 80 plus for personal computers, not for the laptops that you are all staring and playing games while I'm speaking. Personal computers, desktop units and desktop servers, you can specify premium efficiency power supplies in that gear. Now, the manufacturers have been putting garbage power supplies, excuse me, I'll use that word. I don't get flamed from the industry for saying it. They put low-cost power supplies in that gear. You put a premium efficiency power supply in, it will pay for itself in power savings in 6 months at the outside, and yet they're not doing them. Now, I've signed up. Instead of writing you all checks for $5 next time you buy a PC, a desktop, what I do is write checks once a quarter to the manufacturers for the number that they sell in my service area. And I am very happy to report, after 3 years of getting no attention from anybody, Dell and HP are starting to push these units for us. So watch for that. If you have any responsibility for speccing PCs that your organization buys, change your purchase spec for an 80 plus PC. I'm also providing incentives for premium efficiency LCD monitors. There is a long list of LCD monitors that beat the federal Energy Star standards by 25%. Again, just change your purchase spec. The financial benefits of this are really quick and really fast. Now I've got to pick up the pace. I'm going to tell you one more here. The incentives, this is what we did in 2007. Incentives for MAID technology. I'm really interested in data storage. I think it's a growth area in data centers that people are not watching. MAID data storage is, instead of a box of 100 drives that are spinning, there's 100 drives in the box, but there is a software overlay that says, boy, this data doesn't get accessed very much. I'm going to save it to a disk and then I'm going to turn it off. So 75% of the disks in the box are off at any given time. You can get the data, takes a little longer to get it, obviously. The first, and unfortunately the only customer that's bought one of these, is a social networking company that wishes to remain nameless. I think it's pretty funny though, because if you save your profile up to this social networking company, and I guess if you're not very popular, they're going to save you to a disk and then turn it off, okay? I'm going to point the last one, rebates for PC network management software. This is the stuff from ScriptLogic for DM1E, Phoronix, BigFix. This goes out over your network, and despite what your users want to do regarding their power management settings, this makes sure that if they don't touch the keyboard, the PC goes off. We give it a rebate for that, $15 per seat when you install that software. I'm not going to show that. These are the initiatives we have in development. I'm going to do the servers, okay, as soon as I have the miles per gallon figures. I'm going to extend 80 plus, the power supply program, into servers and data storage equipment. I'm working with Climate Savers Computing Initiative, and I sit on that board. We're going to extend the program to there. I'm going to turn the virtualization program into much more of a rebate. Just tell me how many volume servers you moved out onto the loading dock after you virtualized, and I'll pay you $150 per. And that announcement's coming out very soon. We're working with a couple of vendors on incentives and or rebates for converting to thin client systems on your PCs. So, results. I kicked my goals out of the park last year. We had very, very low expectations, though. We were looking for maybe just a megawatt of savings, and I got 4, and so I felt really great, except really it's whoop-de-doo. I mean, out of 500 megawatts of load and 75 coming on in the next 12 to 18 months, I ought to be able to knock 25 megawatts a year out of this marketplace with cost-effective strategies, stuff that doesn't cost you, doesn't pay, that has paybacks of 2 years or less, and in some cases 6 months. So folks, as an industry, as a community, we've got to get it together and make this a lot more popular. Now, that being said, I have formed a coalition, and a large part of what I do now is go across the country talking to utilities, trying to get them to adopt the same program models that we have adopted here in Northern California, so that when you go back to Houston or when you go to Manhattan, your utility will offer at least some, if not all of the things that PG&E is offering here. So we consider this part of our leadership responsibility, our environmental responsibility, and I do a lot of traveling across the country. This is a new slide that I've just put into the deck, and I'm going to spend just a minute on it before I give you what I think you ought to go back to your offices and work on. This is, with apologies to Maslow, this is Bramfit's hierarchy of IT energy efficiency motivation. And the bottom level, which in Maslow is, of course, food. If you're hungry, you don't do anything but look for food, is what I call the O level. O level does not stand for oblivious. It stands for operational. And I know that all of you, if you have any responsibility over IT, the first, foremost, underlying thing in your business day is making sure that it works. And that's okay. Everything that I'm proposing, everything that I'm promoting around energy efficiency, I understand that at a fundamental level, it has to work. However, challenge yourself to move up this hierarchy, at least into the capacity planning stage. And don't be the third one here, which is the emergency capacity planning, meaning you've got to go buy a shipping container full of gear because you didn't think that you were going to grow as fast as you are. At least think short-term and long-term, and I think energy efficiency can have a real key role to play in extending the lifetime of your existing facilities. If you start saving energy, virtualizing, consolidating equipment, doing the right things in your data center, it's going to last you longer than it is otherwise. Now, the third level up is financial reward through partnership. This is where at least your facility manager and your CIO are talking about sharing the costs for doing energy efficiency programs, as well as the benefits, all the financial things. Not a lot of companies operating up here. There really aren't. The last one I have at the top is green IT. This is a purely imaginary state where somebody called an environmental czar in your company comes down to the CIO and says, get your stuff more efficient because it's the right thing to do. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the savings. I have never seen that happen anywhere. So green IT to me is a fictional state, at least for now. My recommendations, assuming that you are all IT folks, join the Climate Savers Computing Initiative. This is an organization started by Google and Intel. PG&E is a member on the board. Buy the 80-plus PCs and put in power management. Those are the only two things you have to commit to join Climate Savers. I think it's a great strategy for you if you have that responsibility, because it tells everybody in your organization that you're serious about the environmental consequences of the stuff you're operating. So I think it's good. Spec the LCD monitors as a third thing around workstations, and consider your thin client option. So this is all workstation related. Back in your data center, if you have not yet begun to virtualize, get with the program. And if you're only doing it in dev test, move it into production. I know very few people who have moved it into production. It is the big bang, swinging, save energy, help you with your capacity issues technology right now. That's why we push it so hard. Evaluate those free cooling options, especially if you're building new space. It can be retrofitted into existing data centers. Huge energy savings on your cooling side. And then the last one is housekeeping. Go back and fix the holes in the floor and put blanking plates in and do all the right things in your data center that make sure that the cold air is at least going to do some useful work by going into the front of a device and cooling it. Again, half of the cool air in a data center typically never makes it to a piece of equipment. You can do housekeeping things at low and no cost and change that. I'm going to quit because we're going to have a panel. I'm interested in your comments and questions, of course. If you wish to access our programs, I'm very interested in talking to you. But I'm also interested in your recommendations on what utilities ought to be doing in this space, regardless whether you're served by me or a utility somewhere else in the country. Because I am out, I will tell you, and I hope you can tell from my enthusiasm, I'm out to change the world in this area. I think the opportunity is huge. We have intense growth rates in the IT industry. I know that it's going to continue growing. I'm not going to make the growth stop, but I'm here as a utility to partner with the customers in Northern California and to partner with utilities across the country and now, frankly, across the world to let's get it together and get a handle on this growth and do right by the environment. It's very, very crucial to me. So my contact information is here. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mark before we move on to the panel? Okay.